Hey everybody, what's up? Brian McCarthy here with a video today on the blues. Disclaimer: we're going to talk about things like scales, and maybe some theory or whatever here. But scales and theory don't necessarily equate to the blues, but they'll help facilitate talking about it today, so we can kind of quantify certain sounds and certain things into something that we can recognize. We'll talk about scale degrees and things like that, but I don't want this video to take away from the language of the blues. Speaking the blues as a language, but quantifying it into some measurable or discernible type things that we can take into all 12 keys and things like that. So, one of my personal crusades in life is to take away the idea of the blues scale. Uh, Again, like I said, blues is not a scale, um, but if it were a scale, it wouldn't be the blues scale that we know of. It would be kind of two blues scales. And then the blues language ultimately coming more of an organic mix of the two. But for right now, we're going to separate these two ideas. The first one, actually, they both come from pentatonics. So let's start with pentatonics. So we'll be using concert B flat for that. And so let's first, get that major pentatonic. Scale degrees 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, and then I just repeat the 1 and come back down. So if we were to take that over, a B flat major triad, you get a very bright sound of things. So we're going to take this major pentatonic and modify it just a little bit to make it what some people refer to as the major blues scale. We're going to throw into the mix of it a flat 3 as well as a major 3 to give us Now I'm going to put that over that same concert B flat triad. And that would be the major blues scale. Remember, scales don't equate to playing the blues. But it gives us a note set that can give us some brightness within the blues context. The major pentatonic is going to be very, very bright. But if I replace the major third with the minor third, the flat 3, it gives me still brightness, but some more personality, some more conflict into the story. Now you can hear the difference between one being very bright and one being a little bit darker relative to each other, but this is still all within the bright context within my head, within the language that I'm trying to speak. So we can go back and forth between really bright and a little darker sort of personality into that mix. Then we can get into the minor pentatonic. So major pentatonic equaled brightness, minor pentatonic is going to equal darkness. So you get 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, and then the 1 again to get your minor pentatonic. Now, there's an old school trick of playing a major pentatonic from a different starting point to give you the minor pentatonic, kind of like Jedi mind tricking you into these are the notes you're looking for. For instance, if I play my concert D flat major pentatonic, that gives me the same note set as my concert B flat minor pentatonic. The thing about wanting to approach this from that same concert B flat perspective, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 1 flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, is because now my language, the way I frame everything up, is going to be from that concert B flat perspective, the key that I'm in, rather than thinking in a different key, even though all of the same notes are the same note set. The framework, the viewpoint of it, will be from a different key, and that's what we call bitonality. And that's a very complicated thing to get into. It just so happens to be, in this case, if you're using concert D flat major pentatonic on your concert B flat blues, it's giving you a concert B flat minor pentatonic. It gets very convoluted and confusing. Best to stick with your scale degrees 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 from the same viewpoint, and then being able to change that into 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 1, 2, flat 3, 5, 6 from the major brighter sound, 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, and then what people know as the ultimate, quote, blues scale, which is 1, flat 3, 4, flat 5, 5, flat 7. And that would be the note set for this very darker sounding blues language of things. So I really do think of it as a flat 5 and a regular 5, just the way I think about it as a flat 3 and a major 3 for the brighter sound. So when I'm getting that over this, and it gives me that darker sound when I compare them both. You can hear the brightness and the darkness. The ultimate goal is to blend these two sounds together when you're playing in a blues context. Now, when we go through a blues progression of, your 1 chord to your 4 chord, back to your 1 chord, 4 chord, 4 chord again, 1 chord, maybe 5 of 2, 2 chord, 5 chord, 1, 5 of 2, 2, 5, 1. Now, even though I'm throwing in things like secondary dominance, which you don't need to worry about if you don't know exactly what that is yet, that's a later video. But what you should know is that I threw more chords into that chord progression. You got 1 chord, your 4 chord, your 5 of 2, your 2, your 5, your 1. Maybe there's a 12 in there. I don't know. A lot of other stuff that's kind of going on. Kind of in a lot of ways, no matter how complex those chord progressions are, concert B flat to E flat, C minor to F7, back to B flat again. I'm thinking from that root perspective the entire time, or at least I can. I can think from that concert B flat all the way through. It's more of a blues language, a blues mindset to do that. 1 chord. You can still hear that I'm framing up that concert B flat as my center of the universe. I haven't changed to that concert E flat perspective yet, which you can do. It's not to say that you can't do it, but from a blues language starting point, it's good to go through the entire set of things from that original viewpoint and let the world kind of change around. Now, sure, there are going to be things you have to watch out for when you're playing both of these scales. Both of these mindsets, to me, are really what make the blues. If it's one blues scale, you're kind of missing a lot of the story. If you're playing the major pentatonic / major blues scale or minor pentatonic / minor blues scale, you're only getting one color the entire time. And that isn't necessarily as rewarding of an experience as going just a little bit further and having both of these pentatonics and altered pentatonics to give you the opportunity, or to give a student the opportunity to really sound like they're playing the blues, because in actuality you will be by using those two sounds. So the one little thing that you should watch out for is when you get to the 4 chord, if you're using the major blues scale or the major blues mindset, 1 chord, and I can use all of those notes for the 1 chord. But when I get to the 4 chord, what I think of as the major third from that blues standpoint, from the overall key that we're in, that major third conflicts with the actual chord that's being played. The concert E flat has a concert D flat being played, which is the flat 7 of the dominant chord being played. And if you play the major 7th of it, it doesn't play well. So that major third of the blues scale kind of wants to be omitted in the 4 chord that's taking place. Everywhere else, you can interchange that major third and minor third as you see and feel fit. The minor blues scale will work throughout the entirety, which is why I understand a lot of people out there will quantify blues into a single scale, and they'll say this blues scale is the 1 scale I'm going to teach you, and now go ahead and start to improvise. And that's okay to do that, but if you want to go a little bit deeper into this language of things, adding that other color, that other spectrum, brightness, and then darkness, now you have the ability to blend all of these polar opposites, bright and dark, together into more of a story that you tell. So when I go through, now when I'm going back and forth between these two, I can hear brighter and darker, a call and response of a bright sound to a dark sound, or a dark sound to a bright sound. Again, I get infinitely more options, or exponentially more options, when I add this second brighter sound into the mix of things. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to give you a demonstration of a couple courses of a blues. A typical 12-bar blues in concert B flat, 1 4 1 1 4 4 1 5 of 2 2 5 1 5 of 2 2 5 1. Did you get all that? Got all that? Good, because there's going to be a test at the end of this. And through that progression, what I'll do, the first chorus, I'll play only using the bright sound built off of the major pentatonic. The second chorus, I'll play only the dark sound built off of the minor pentatonic. The third chorus, I'll start to cross the streams, as I say. Remember in Ghostbusters, they crossed the streams to save the day. Look it up. So ultimately, blending these two sounds together, that's giving you more of that blues language, telling that story of brightness and darkness, the human experience through that. And then what I'll do is do a little solo saxophone thing at the end of the video, maybe. And I'll just use there's no real form to it or anything like that. It's just kind of using these sounds that we talked about today, for the most part, with a few other bells and whistles thrown into there, I suppose, to demonstrate what you can do with the blues. Because, like for me, the blues isn't a form. It's not necessarily just a song form. And it's not just scales, or certainly not just one scale. It's a sound. It's a language. It's a way of playing this type of language and grasping that, which is its own thing. And then we can get into the jazz works of things thrown in with the blues as well. But mastering these sounds of bright blues, dark blues, and being able to kind of separate the two on purpose so you have control of it. And then once you have control of the separate sounds, bringing them together so they give you that full on blues language of things. So, yeah, here we go. Peace.
2, 3, 4.